If you hate wealth, stop listening now. If you believe poverty is noble, if you think struggle is your destiny, if you are more comfortable envying than earning, turn this off, because what you are about to hear will make it impossible to remain as you are. This message is not for the man who wants sympathy. It is for the man who wants power. It is not for the one who seeks comfort. It is for the one who seeks command. I'm about to tell you truths that most men will never hear because they do not want to. They fear them. They hide behind excuses, morals, or false humility. But the truth is this: wealth is not the enemy of virtue. Poverty is. Poverty destroys faith. It poisons families. It reduces men of spirit to beggars of circumstance. And yet most will defend it, worship it, even romanticize it, while the law of riches stands waiting, untouched by their unbelief. If you hate wealth, you will never have it, because wealth is energy, and energy moves only toward the mind that welcomes it. The moment you resent it, you reject it. The moment you condemn it, it condemns you. Carnegie did not apologize for fortune. He used it to build libraries and lift men. Ford did not curse money. He made it serve millions. Edison did not shrink from success. He multiplied it until the world was brighter. You cannot attract what you secretly despise. You cannot command what you fear to possess. And you cannot live a life of power while worshiping limitation. This message is not a comfort, it is a test. If you are offended, you are not ready. But if something in you stirs, if something whispers, "I was meant for more," then listen closely. Because what follows will not only show you how wealth is created, it will reveal why it has always avoided you. You will learn the forgotten truth that money is not earned, it is obeyed. And until you understand the law that governs it, you will continue to work harder and harder for less and less. So let this be the line in the sand. If you hate wealth, leave now. But if you wish to master it, stay. Because what comes next is the most eye-opening message of your life. Wealth is not chance. It is not accident. It is not favor bestowed upon a select few. Wealth is law. It is the exact and predictable result of definite thought, backed by faith, expressed in persistent and useful action. Poverty is not virtue. It is simply disobedience to that law. The great tragedy of mankind is not that opportunity is withheld, but that men refuse to learn the rules of its creation. Every man lives beneath the same sky and breathes the same air, yet one grows rich and another remains poor. Why? Because infinite intelligence rewards definiteness and punishes indecision. It serves faith and rejects fear. It moves through gratitude and turns its back on complaint. The world is not governed by luck, but by law. And that law answers only to the man who commands it through his state of mind. You have been taught to chase money as though it were prey. I tell you, money is not the hunter's prize. It is the servant of law. Chase it, and it runs. Align with law, and it follows. When you understand that riches are but a reflection of mental order, you will cease begging the world to reward you and begin instructing it to obey you. Infinite intelligence has one language, definiteness. The universe is a mirror reflecting the image of your belief. The mind that thinks in terms of lack, limitation, and doubt will find these reflected in its affairs. The man who sees abundance everywhere, who expects prosperity, who gives thanks for wealth in advance, will find every condition bending to that expectation. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you are. Consider Andrew Carnegie, who began with nothing but belief and a plan. As a boy working in a telegraph office, he said, "I will spend the first half of my life earning money, and the second half giving it away." That declaration was not wish, it was law. The universe rearranged itself to match that command. He became master of steel, but he was first master of mind. Wealth is harmony between man's thought and infinite intelligence. Thoughts of abundance, when held with faith and purpose, form an invisible magnet that draws men, ideas, and circumstances suited to their vibration. Thoughts of fear build walls that keep opportunity out. Affirm aloud. Wealth is the servant of my definiteness. I command it by law, not by chance. Say it until belief burns through every cell, for until you see yourself as the cause, you will remain a victim of effect. Most men worship effort. They mistake sweat for creation. They labor endlessly, producing much motion but little progress because their minds lack direction. They work for wages instead of for purpose. They chase pennies and wonder why fortune hides from them. Money is not earned by toil. It is magnetized by thought and sustained by service. The man who works blindly may earn his bread, but the man who works with definiteness earns dominion. Labor without vision is slavery. Labor with purpose is creation. You cannot build wealth with hands alone. It must first be constructed in mind. Henry Ford once said, "Thinking is the hardest work there is," which is probably the reason so few engage in it. He was right. The world is filled with workers, but starved for thinkers. Those who learn to think accurately, who can hold one idea steadily until it takes form, rule those who cannot. Money, like electricity, follows certain channels. It flows where usefulness flows. It resists idleness, waste, and ingratitude. When your service increases in quality and quantity, money comes of its own accord. The law cannot be cheated. You cannot reap where you have not sown, but you cannot sow in faith without harvesting in abundance. Infinite intelligence detests disorder. It punishes vagueness by withholding power. The man who has no definite aim wanders through life like a ship without compass, hoping the tide will carry him to harbor. But tides favor the man who steers. Wealth does not respond to the idle wish. It responds to the definite plan. It does not come to those who demand more pay for less work. It comes to those who render more service than they are paid for, trusting that law will balance accounts in due time. Poverty is not noble. It is rebellion against the intelligence that designed abundance. The man who glorifies lack insults the mind that gave him imagination. The man who condemns wealth condemns the law of creation itself. The law has no pity for those who despise it. You cannot attract what you secretly resent. You cannot command what you fear to possess. The poor man who curses the rich plants thorns in his own garden. His hatred becomes his prison. The mind that blesses abundance invites it. The mind that condemns it shuts its own door. Let this truth strike deep. You are poor only as long as you believe you are. Poverty is not a condition. It is a conviction. And wealth is not a possession. It is a position of mind. Look again at Carnegie. He surrounded himself with men who knew more than he did, and he organized their minds in harmony toward one purpose. That was his genius. He mastered the law of service, and through service he mastered wealth. He did not chase money. He obeyed law. He did not pray for opportunity. He created it. He said, "As I grow older, I pay less attention to what men say. I just watch what they do." The same can be said of the universe. It listens not to your wishes, but to your order. Every fortune in history began as an invisible idea, charged with emotion, fixed by faith and followed by persistent effort. The man who blames the world for his poverty confesses his ignorance of law. The man who commands riches confesses his obedience to it. You cannot outwork law, you can only align with it. Infinite intelligence rewards order as surely as gravity rewards weight. The man who keeps his mind fixed upon usefulness, gratitude, and definiteness will find wealth pursuing him as water pursues the riverbed. If you would escape poverty, cease thinking of lack. Speak no word of limitation. Replace complaint with thanks. Begin every day with the declaration, "I am rich in thought, rich in purpose, rich in power." The world must then reflect that image, for the law cannot deny its own expression. The average man spends 30 years waiting for fortune to visit. The wise man spends 1 year preparing his mind, and fortune becomes his servant. You may save a lifetime of struggle by learning this. Wealth does not answer to work. It answers to vibration. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in harmony with faith, you create rhythm. That rhythm is wealth's natural environment. Money is but condensed energy. It flows to those whose minds are calm, clear, and constructive. Do not envy those who possess riches. Study them. Ask not why them, but how them. For law favors all men equally, but few obey it consciously. The moment you see that every result has a cause and every cause is thought, you have found the key. Poverty is violation of law, nothing more. It is the shadow cast by fear. The poor man believes the world is against him, and so it is. The rich man believes the world is his instrument, and so it becomes. The law obeys belief. You must unlearn the superstition that wealth corrupts. Wealth in the hands of the wise uplifts all who touch it. Carnegie's libraries, Ford's industries, Edison's light, all were proofs that riches, rightly used, are instruments of civilization. Say it with conviction. I honor wealth as the evidence of order. I despise poverty as the evidence of confusion. This is not arrogance. It is acknowledgement of law. Infinite intelligence designed you for increase. You were not born to beg. You were born to build. To hate wealth is to hate your own potential. To love wealth rightly is to honor creation itself. Wealth is not reserved for the cunning. It is reserved for the conscious. The man who knows what he wants, believes he can have it, and serves others through its pursuit becomes a magnet for supply. The law cannot help but deliver. At the close of this instruction, you will no longer beg for opportunity. You will command it. You will no longer chase fortune. You will attract it. You will no longer plead with the universe. You will partner with it. For the truth is simple. Wealth is the servant of definiteness. The man who obeys the law of faith, thought, and service becomes its master. And the man who mocks the law becomes its slave. The moment you decide to think richly, to speak richly, to act richly, poverty loses its claim upon you. You will feel it first as confidence, then as opportunity, then as substance. This is not miracle. It is mathematics. The law of mind knows no failure. From this hour forward, refuse to think of lack. Refuse to complain. Refuse to justify limitation. Begin to see money as what it is, a reflection of faith in motion. Let your service rise to meet that vision, and law will supply its equal. Repeat until it becomes breath. I do not chase wealth. I create it. I do not wait for fortune. I command it. I am not the servant of circumstance. I am the master of law. The world bows before the man who knows his own mind. Fortune awaits not the fastest, nor the strongest, but the most definite. For the universe, impartial and exact, rewards only one type of man, the one who dares to believe that he was made to prosper. And when that belief becomes nature, when definiteness replaces doubt, when gratitude replaces fear, then and only then will you understand that riches were never withheld from you. They were waiting, patient and perfect, for you to obey. Every building stands first in mind before it stands in stone. So it is with fortune. Riches are not built with hands, they are built with plans. The mind is the workshop of all wealth. Within it, man may construct poverty or prosperity, slavery or mastery, despair or dominion. Every thought you hold long enough and deeply enough becomes blueprint, and the world cannot help but build upon it. Infinite intelligence does not reward vague wishing. It does not serve the indecisive nor the half-hearted. It answers only to definiteness. The man who says, I want to be rich someday, commands nothing. But the man who says, I will build my fortune through this plan by this service beginning this day, sends forth a decree that the universe must obey. Every mind is a workshop. Most build confusion, few build empires. The confused man fills his mind with many desires, each pulling in a different direction, each canceling the other. He prays for opportunity while fearing failure. He dreams of abundance while thinking of lack. He hopes for health while expecting sickness. And so he builds chaos and calls it fate. The man of definiteness is the master architect. He sees one aim, one ideal, one burning purpose, and pours all thought, emotion, and action into it until the world yields. His plan may change in form, but never in aim. He knows that all riches, visible and invisible, begin in the ordering of thought. Henry Ford understood this. When he conceived of an automobile for the multitude, the world called him a fool. His engineers told him it was impossible to build an engine that powerful at that price. He replied, "Produce it anyway." When they returned, defeated, he said again, "Build it still." He held his mental picture so firmly that the law had no choice but to comply. The impossible became reality because faith refused to entertain doubt. Every great builder constructs success twice, once in imagination, once in matter. The poor man reverses the process. He demands proof before belief. He says, "Show me, and then I will have faith." But faith cannot follow proof. It must precede it. Belief is the foundation. Proof is the result. Affirm aloud, "My thoughts are blueprints of riches. My faith is their foundation. My purpose is their form." Every day you live, you are drafting your future in the architecture of thought. If your mind is filled with worry, you are designing small, weak rooms unfit for greatness. If your mind is filled with confidence and purpose, you are laying the marble of success. Infinite intelligence cannot construct from confusion. It demands clarity. It asks, "What do you want?" and waits for answer. If your answer changes daily, the building remains forever unfinished. The law responds to definiteness of vision and persistence of demand. Desire gives thought life. Faith gives it structure. Persistence gives it permanence. The dream that survives these three tests becomes destiny. Most men never begin. They are rich in desire but poor in persistence. They quit after the first doubt. They blame the world for failing to reward them, never seeing that their own uncertainty canceled the order. From the teachings of the law of success, the first principle is definiteness of purpose. Without it, every other law stands idle. The drifter, the procrastinator, the doubter, these are not cursed by circumstance, but by vagueness. The wandering mind builds castles of air. The definite mind builds empires of stone. Andrew Carnegie said, "The man who begins one thing and sticks to it is worth more than the man who starts 100 and finishes none." His empire was not luck. It was the organized result of thought directed toward one idea until that idea matured into mastery. Each fortune, from the humblest merchant to the mightiest industrialist, began with a single burning idea. Edison's desire to illuminate the world became the electric age. Ford's desire to serve the multitude became the motor age. Carnegie's desire to strengthen America became the steel age. Each began with a mental contract between man and infinite intelligence. Write your own contract. Tonight, take paper and pen. Write clearly what you want, when you want it, what you will give for it, and how you will begin. Read it every morning and every night. Feel gratitude as if it were already done. See it, hear it, believe it, then act upon it. This is no ritual. It is law in motion. The subconscious accepts the command impressed upon it through repetition, faith, and emotion. It will then reorganize thought, energy, and circumstance to fulfill your order. Each time you read your definite purpose, you save a year of wandering. The man who knows his aim moves once. The drifter moves forever. You cannot direct the subconscious with uncertainty. It will not obey half-hearted thought. It waits for emotional conviction. The instant your desire becomes more than wish, when it becomes necessity, your mind becomes magnetic. The poor man asks, "What can I do?" The rich man decides what he will do and then does it. The poor man says, "Someday." The rich man says, today, and today becomes the seed of empire. Your imagination is the drafting table of destiny. Picture what you desire as already real. Feel its weight, its sound, its joy. The subconscious does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It will treat what you imagine as fact and work ceaselessly to match the picture. You have heard men say, I never seem to get a chance. But chance is not given. It is recognized by those whose minds are prepared to see it. Definiteness creates perception. When you hold a clear purpose, you begin to notice opportunities that were always there, invisible to the undecided. You may save 10 years of wandering by replacing wishing with design. The man who drifts in hope must wait for tide and wind. The man who steers by decision reaches harbor by law. The universe cannot fill a cup that is not raised. Every man has a right to riches, but he must claim them. You claim wealth through clear mental image and loyal belief. The moment your picture is definite, infinite intelligence sets into motion unseen forces to fulfill it. To the mind that is ready, wealth comes swiftly. To the mind that is confused, wealth is delayed, not by law's refusal, but by man's disorder. Do not say, I will try. Say, I will. The word try is the language of weakness. It betrays doubt. Law does not obey half-hearted speech. It obeys command. Faith transforms thought into blueprint. Emotion energizes it. Action cements it. Repetition fortifies it. This is the entire process of creation. It is the same for inventions, fortunes, and peace of mind. Henry Ford proved this with his assembly line. He first imagined it as a system that would build more cars at less cost. He pictured it clearly and repeatedly until the pattern became fact. Thought created the image, emotion sustained it, action fulfilled it. Whatever you can clearly imagine and deeply feel, you can eventually possess. Infinite intelligence is exact. It cannot deny the definite. Your fortune is written before you touch it. It exists first as thought, then as plan, then as form. The pen that writes it is in your mind. You must learn to think once and move forever. The hesitant man revises his goal with every obstacle. The definite man corrects his plan, but never his aim. Obstacles test persistence. They do not define destiny. Faith is not knowing how. It is knowing that. The builder does not ask the stone how to shape itself. He shapes it. The man of wealth does not ask the world's permission. He instructs it. Repeat each morning, I hold one aim. I see it clearly. I act upon it daily. My mind is blueprint. My faith is builder. If you would move mountains, first fix the image of the summit in your mind. The rocks obey the vision. So does life. Wealth, success, harmony, these are results of order. Order begins in thought. When your mind is definite, your life becomes symmetrical. You no longer waste years changing direction. You march with purpose, and time itself yields. The man who drifts wastes his youth in confusion and his age in regret. The man of purpose compresses decades into days. Each morning becomes a stone in his temple. Each act of faith becomes an eternal brick. Carnegie said, aim for the highest, and you will hit the mark. He meant that the aim itself transforms the man. The definite purpose gives strength to thought, courage to faith, and power to action. You may save 20 years of labor by discovering your chief aim today. Once your direction is fixed, law will arrange its resources to meet you halfway. The pen that signs your fortune is in your mind. Use it deliberately. Write your desire clearly. Write it faithfully. Write it until your subconscious no longer argues. Then live as though your order were already fulfilled. For the man who knows what he wants, believes he can have it, and serves through it, the world opens its treasury without hesitation. Infinite intelligence does not deny him. It simply waits for him to decide. Decide now. Declare within it, I know what I want. I know why I want it. I know what I will give for it. I believe I will have it. I begin today. And that decision, held steady, will mark the hour your riches begin to move toward you. Every man stands between two masters, faith and fear. One builds, the other destroys. One opens the gates of wealth, the other bolts them shut. Between them you must choose. The man who does not choose has already chosen fear, for indecision is its first symptom. Fear is faith reversed. It believes in failure, in loss, in limitation. Faith believes in law, in abundance, in mastery. One trusts infinite intelligence, the other doubts it. No man is free until he conquers fear, for fear is the silent tyrant of destiny. It paralyzes action, poisons reason, and whispers lies through every thought of hesitation. Fear sits at the door of every opportunity disguised as caution. It pretends to protect, but it only prevents. It says, "Wait until you are ready," while readiness is created only by motion. Infinite intelligence gave man imagination not to fear what might go wrong, but to picture what must go right. Yet most men misuse imagination as an engine of terror. They invent failure in advance. They visualize loss, poverty, rejection, ridicule, and so the law obediently constructs these images into form. You cannot think of lack without inviting it. You cannot dwell upon fear without feeding it. Say this and feel it. Fear is not real. It is the shadow cast by doubt upon the light of faith. The moment you turn toward faith, the shadow vanishes. Fear has no substance. It survives only in darkness. There are 6 chief ghosts of fear that haunt mankind: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. These are the phantoms that steal men's years, rob them of initiative, and make slaves of their own indecision. Each fear is but a thought believed too long. Let us face them and strip them of power. The fear of poverty is the cruelest, for it binds the soul before it binds the body. It is born of ignorance of law. The man who believes wealth is scarce condemns himself to lack. The man who believes wealth is limitless draws it forth from the unseen. You cannot both fear poverty and attract abundance. You must choose one master. The cure for poverty is definiteness of purpose and faith in service. The man who renders useful service in spirit cannot remain poor. The fear of criticism is born of vanity. It makes cowards of geniuses. It kills ideas before birth. The man who dreads what others think becomes their servant. The man who follows purpose becomes their leader. Edison endured laughter for years while building his dream. He did not fear ridicule, for he served a law greater than opinion. He said, "I am not discouraged, because every wrong attempt discarded is another step forward." Those words were the anthem of faith. The fear of ill health is born of suggestion. The mind that dwells upon sickness manufactures it. Every cell of the body obeys the tone of thought. Speak of vitality, and the body strengthens. Speak of weakness, and it obeys decay. Health is harmony. Disease is discord. The man who maintains peace in mind produces it in flesh. The fear of loss of love is born of selfishness. It demands possession instead of giving affection. It strangles what it tries to hold. True love is service without demand. When you fear to lose, you cease to give, and what is withheld begins to die. Faith in love multiplies it. Fear of loss destroys it. The fear of old age is born of idleness. The mind that ceases to grow begins to decay. Age does not kill the spirit. Inaction does. The man who serves with purpose grows younger in power, though older in years. The flame of usefulness never grows dim. The fear of death is born of ignorance of eternity. Death is not the end, it is continuation. It is transfer of energy to finer form. He who has lived in harmony with law need not fear the next chapter, for law is eternal and cannot destroy itself. Service is immortality. Repeat this each day. No fear can enter my mind. Faith is my eternal companion. Infinite intelligence moves through me in perfect confidence. Every fear is illusion until believed. Once you face it, it shrinks. Once you retreat, it grows. The man who walks through fear discovers that it was smoke without fire. The man who runs from it breathes life into its ashes. Fear has only the strength you lend it. Thomas Edison faced 10,000 so-called failures without the faintest tremor of fear. "I have not failed," he said. "I have found 10,000 ways that do not work." Each failure became a brick in the temple of triumph. He did not pray for success. He obeyed law. Faith multiplied his energy. Fear would have destroyed it after the first defeat. Carnegie was warned by scholars that America could never be industrially independent. He replied, "I will make it so." He did not fear failure because he did not believe in it. He saw law as servant, not judge. His confidence created a nation of steel. Fear is the thief of years. Every day you spend doubting your ability, you delay your destiny by that measure. The man who acts in faith saves decades. The man who trembles in uncertainty wastes lifetimes. Fear steals time more cruelly than poverty steals bread. When you speak of fear, you feed it. When you face it, you starve it. Write down every fear that has limited you. Look at it as you would a liar caught in the act. Then write its opposite truth in the language of faith. If you fear poverty, affirm abundance. If you fear criticism, affirm purpose. If you fear failure, affirm law. Speak the opposite until emotion shifts and fear dissolves. This is mental alchemy, the turning of poison into power. Faith and fear cannot share the same thought. The one expels the other. The moment you decide to believe in yourself, fear dies. You cannot serve two masters. Faith demands that you move. Fear demands that you wait. Choose motion. Infinite intelligence has no sympathy for fear. It cannot act through a trembling mind. It waits patiently for courage to replace hesitation. The instant courage arrives, the whole universe moves to assist it. Remember this law. The first step through fear is the hardest, for the gatekeeper of doubt guards the treasure of faith. Once you move, momentum carries you forward. The hardest thing you will ever do is begin. The easiest thing you will ever do is continue. Fear is the prophet of failure. It predicts defeat before battle. The man who believes the prophecy makes it true. The man who laughs at it proves it false. Say aloud with conviction, "I am immune to fear. I act boldly in faith. I am protected by the law that governs success." Repeat until it becomes nature. Do not wait for fear to vanish before acting. Act, and fear will vanish as mist before the morning sun. Action is the antidote. Lincoln faced endless opposition, ridicule, and despair. Yet his calm never faltered. He prayed not for safety, but for courage. He knew that fear could not live in a mind occupied by service. He said, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true." That truth made him immortal. Fear thrives on delay. Every time you postpone a decision, fear tightens its hold. Every time you move in faith, fear loses ground. The difference between a coward and a conqueror is not emotion, it is motion. No man is without fear, but the master moves despite it. The drifter waits for comfort, and comfort never comes. The conqueror acts, and comfort follows. You may save 30 years of limitation by mastering this single truth. Fear is a liar. It speaks in the voice of reason, but serves the law of delay. It pretends to protect you from danger, but its only danger is its own paralysis. Infinite intelligence does not communicate through fear. It speaks through intuition, faith, gratitude, and purpose. Fear is the static that blocks its signal. To hear guidance, you must tune out dread. When fear knocks, answer with faith. When doubt whispers, answer with decision. When hesitation creeps, answer with movement. Each victory over fear is a step toward mastery. You cannot think of greatness while fearing failure. The two cannot exist together. Choose one, and the other departs. The man who walks in faith finds that fear becomes servant, not master. It warns him of danger, but no longer directs his path. Faith and fear are both forms of belief. one in abundance, one in lack. The same mind produces both. Turn your belief toward success, and the energy that once produced worry will now produce wisdom. Say this each night before sleep. Fear is nothing. Faith is everything. I am fearless, for I live in harmony with law. Remember, fear never created anything. It has destroyed nations, ruined men, and silenced genius. But it has never built a single bridge, written a single song, nor invented a single machine. Every creation that has lifted mankind was born in faith. Therefore, choose faith as your constant companion. Let it walk with you when you are uncertain. Let it speak through you when you feel weak. Let it remind you that no obstacle can outlast the man who believes. You are not the child of fear. You are the offspring of infinite intelligence. That which created worlds did not design you to tremble before circumstance. Stand tall, think clearly, act bravely, and the universe will reward you with mastery over self, which is mastery over all. Fear dies the moment it is exposed. Faith lives the moment it is expressed. And once faith becomes your nature, you will discover that nothing external can harm the man who has conquered himself. For the world bows not to wealth, nor to intellect, nor to strength. It bows to the calm certainty of one who knows that he is guided by the law of God. And that, my friend, is the first mark of the master. He does not wait for courage to come. He becomes it. Faith is not prayer whispered in weakness. It is motion born of mastery. It is the invisible hand that moves mountains because it first moves man. Most people speak of faith as if it were a hope. They wait for proof before they act. But true faith is the reverse. It acts first, and proof arrives as servant. The man who waits for certainty dies waiting. The man who steps forward before the path appears makes the path appear. You must understand this law. Every spiritual power of creation lies dormant until it is expressed through action. Thought and belief prepare the soil, but action plants the seed. Infinite intelligence will meet you halfway, but it will not take the first step for you. You must act as if the thing desired were already yours, and your movement becomes the signal that summons its material form. Say aloud, faith without motion is noise. Faith in motion is law. Faith is not guessing, it is knowing. It is the surety that every cause produces its proper effect, and that when your cause is definite thought mixed with belief and expressed in service, wealth must follow. It cannot fail, for law does not lie. Look at Henry Ford. When his factories faced ruin, when banks refused credit, when his own engineers declared defeat, he did not retreat into worry. He said simply, "We'll build a better one." Those 5 words carried more power than 1,000 plans because they were spoken with conviction. He acted immediately, rebuilding while others hesitated. That act of faith summoned men, materials, and miracles that waiting could not. Faith is creative command. It calls things that are not as though they were and makes them so. The timid man prays for strength and remains weak. The man of faith acts strong and grows strength. You cannot think your way into power. You must act your way into it. Infinite intelligence favors momentum. It cannot steer a stationary mind. Every law of success requires obedience through motion. The man who says, "I believe," and sits still believes nothing. The man who says, "I believe," and moves proves everything. Faith must walk, speak, build, persist, and repeat until reality bends before it. It does not shrink when denied. It expands. It does not die when mocked. It multiplies. Faith is the living electricity that powers every thought into substance. Affirm aloud, "My faith is not idle. My faith is command. I act as though success were certain, and success becomes my shadow." Each time you act upon belief, you are training your subconscious to expect success. You are building an invisible habit of victory. The timid man, by contrast, trains himself in defeat by inaction. He feeds his subconscious proof that fear rules him. The law obeys his example. Infinite intelligence never rewards intention. It rewards execution. The man who dreams without movement is like a farmer who plants no seed and prays for harvest. The earth will not break its law for him. Andrew Carnegie once said, "Take away my factories, my railroads, and my wealth, but leave me my men, and I will have it all again." What gave him that certainty? Faith in motion. He believed that when thought is organized into plan and plan into action, all resources return. His faith did not depend on conditions. Conditions depended on his faith. Faith is a bridge between the unseen and the seen. You build it with decisions, not doubts. Each act of obedience strengthens it. Each hesitation weakens it. The man who acts when afraid soon finds that courage follows. The man who waits for courage grows only more afraid. You may say, "But what if I fail?" Understand, every failure in faith is partial success. Each act of motion teaches law how to serve you better. Edison failed 10,000 times because he acted 10,000 times. His failures were tuition paid to infinite intelligence. His faith, applied daily, turned into mastery. Fear lives in stillness. Faith lives in movement. The moment you act, fear dies of starvation. Faith feeds upon progress. Repeat this every morning before work. I move with purpose. I decide swiftly. I act now. Infinite intelligence rewards my motion. Let these words burn into your mind until delay feels unnatural. Faith is not reckless. It is not blind impulse. It is deliberate obedience to law. It knows that results follow causes as surely as dawn follows night. When you move in harmony with that certainty, you cannot fail, though you may stumble. The man of faith walks by inner vision, not outer condition. He knows that circumstances are effects, not masters. If results lag behind belief, he does not panic. He strengthens his faith and doubles his effort. The soil of law takes time to germinate, but once its roots break ground, no storm can uproot it. The man who complains that faith does not work forgets that law rewards persistence, not impatience. One act of faith may move a pebble. 1,000 acts move mountains. The weak man quits after the first effort and says the law is false. The wise man endures until law itself cannot resist his vibration. Carnegie trusted men long before they earned his trust. That was faith in motion. He placed responsibility upon them, and they rose to meet it. His belief created belief in others. Faith is contagious. The man who radiates it multiplies it. The man who doubts infects others with hesitation. Decide which you will be. Affirm again, my faith is not hope. It is law obeyed through action. I move, therefore I succeed. Every time you act upon an idea, you send a message to infinite intelligence, I am ready. And readiness is the signal that summons opportunity. The lazy man says, I will act when the way is clear. The wise man says, I will act and the way will clear. Faith is intelligent risk. It is the art of walking through darkness, knowing that the floor will appear beneath your feet. The coward waits for light. The Creator steps into the dark and brings light with him. Action, when guided by faith, becomes a magnet for coincidence. You will meet the right person at the right time. You will hear ideas that match your need. You will find doors opening that once were walls. These are not miracles. They are mathematics. Law follows vibration. Faith is vibration perfected. Remember this, you cannot talk your way into riches. You must act your way there. Faith spoken without action is wind. Faith acted upon is lightning. Every man who has mastered wealth has acted in defiance of condition. When Ford built his first automobile, he had neither tools nor money, only decision. When Edison built his light, he had no certainty, only persistence. When Carnegie built his empire, he had no privilege, only purpose. Their wealth was born the instant they moved. Do not despise small beginnings. Faith does not demand grand gestures. Begin with one act of obedience. Write the plan. Make the call. Start the work. Each step you take in faith becomes foundation stone for the structure of fortune. The law of faith is precise. Motion creates momentum. Momentum creates magnetism. Magnetism creates manifestation. Begin moving, and the law takes over. Faith will ask of you one sacrifice, the death of doubt. You cannot serve both. To hold belief and disbelief in the same mind is to drive with one foot on the brake. Release the brake. Let faith carry you forward. Speak this command. Every act I take in faith shortens the distance between vision and reality. I act now, therefore I succeed now. Faith thrives on gratitude. When you give thanks for results before they appear, you affirm their inevitability. This gratitude transforms expectation into certainty. Each day of faithful action guided by gratitude is a day of partnership with infinite intelligence. When doubt arises, act twice as swiftly. When fear whispers, move twice as boldly. The universe rewards rhythm, not retreat. Even the smallest deed done in faith outweighs the grandest plan delayed by doubt. A letter sent in belief carries more power than a book unwritten in hesitation. The world does not remember thinkers. It remembers doers. Faith is the lightning of creation. It illuminates before the storm passes. It strikes when men least expect and leaves them standing in awe of the one who dared to act. Repeat as vow, I move in faith. I act with courage. I persist with purpose. Infinite intelligence works through my motion. For when you begin to act in faith, you discover a strange truth. Results come faster, effort feels lighter, and time seems to shorten. You save years of wandering because law responds instantly to order. You no longer chase opportunity. Opportunity begins chasing you. When faith becomes habit, action becomes instinct. When action becomes instinct, success becomes inevitable. So act now, not next week, not when conditions are better. This moment is the field where faith must plant its seed. Move in harmony with law, and wealth, peace, and power will move with you. For faith is not waiting, it is walking. And the man who walks in faith finds that the universe itself begins to walk beside him. Power in isolation is weakness disguised. No man has ever risen to mastery alone. All who have reached enduring greatness have drawn from the mysterious force that arises when two or more minds meet in harmony and purpose. This is the mastermind principle, the unseen alliance between men and infinite intelligence. It is the law that multiplies strength through unity and channels the mind of God through human cooperation. You have heard it said that 1 + 1 = 2. In the mastermind, 1 + 1 = 10 or 1,000, for it is not addition but multiplication of thought vibration. When two minds of faith unite, their combined energy forms a third mind, invisible yet powerful, through which infinite intelligence expresses itself. That is why the solitary genius remains a dreamer, but the harmonized group becomes an empire. Andrew Carnegie understood this law better than any man of his generation. When asked for the secret of his fortune, he said, "It was not me, it was my mastermind." He surrounded himself with men more skilled than himself, men of imagination, discipline, and courage, and united them under one burning purpose. He said, "I organized men as I would engines." His empire was not steel, it was organized intelligence in motion. The mastermind multiplies more than ideas. It multiplies faith. When two or more minds believe in the same purpose, doubt finds no foothold. Fear cannot enter the house of harmony. Every member strengthens the vibration of the other until the group itself becomes a living magnet for opportunity. Say aloud, "I attract minds of power. I unite with them in harmony." Through our faith and purpose, infinite intelligence moves. No empire can stand upon discord. The power of the mastermind depends upon the purity of cooperation. One disloyal thought, one whisper of envy can shatter the circuit. That is why you must choose your allies by vibration, not by convenience. Better one companion of faith than 100 skeptics. Better silence than gossip. Henry Ford surrounded himself with men like Edison and Firestone, each a titan in his own right. Together they met often to share ideas not for profit, but for inspiration. Out of their conversations came inventions, industries, and ideas that changed civilization. Each drew strength from the other's belief. Each saw himself reflected in the faith of his friends. That is the secret rhythm of the mastermind. The man who isolates himself loses contact with infinite intelligence, for that intelligence speaks most clearly through harmony of minds. Solitude can produce thought, but cooperation produces creation. The lone thinker may conceive ideas. The united thinkers build worlds. Faith, when shared, multiplies by tenfold. Doubt, when shared, multiplies by destruction. You must guard your alliances as you would a sacred temple. Do not allow criticism, jealousy, or vanity to enter, for they are termites of the spirit. Every act of faith strengthens the structure. Every word of discord weakens it. Affirm, I am loyal to harmony. I am faithful to cooperation. I multiply the power of every man I meet who lives in purpose. The mastermind principle is the bridge between individual desire and universal supply. No man can hold all ideas alone. Infinite intelligence distributes inspiration through the network of cooperative minds. The man who harmonizes with others becomes a channel for ideas that surpass his own understanding. Charles Schwab, the right hand of Carnegie, was known for his enthusiasm, the vibration that binds men together. He could enter a room of weary workers and lift their spirits within minutes. His belief in their greatness awakened greatness within them. That was the mastermind in motion. Schwab did not command through authority. He ruled through magnetism. His enthusiasm was the electricity that powered an army of minds. The law of the mastermind mirrors the law of nature. In the universe, no atom moves alone. Every motion affects another. Harmony is power. Discord is decay. When minds vibrate in unity, infinite intelligence uses them as one instrument. You can begin forming your mastermind this day. Seek one man or woman whose faith matches your own. Share your definite purpose. Agree to meet regularly, to discuss progress, exchange encouragement, and hold each other accountable to motion. Speak only of purpose, never of failure. Each meeting will strengthen your vibration until you begin to draw more allies of equal tone. Every great success began as a partnership. Edison had his laboratory assistants who shared his vision. Ford had his managers who shared his determination. Carnegie had his council of industrial minds united by faith. Each acted as an extension of the other. Their combined intelligence produced more in 1 year than the solitary man could in 50. Infinite intelligence responds swiftly to the unified vibration of minds acting in faith. The moment you build such harmony, you become an antenna for inspiration. Ideas begin to flow faster. Opportunities multiply. People appear as if summoned by unseen hand. This is not coincidence. It is correspondence between minds vibrating in rhythm. Affirm again, I harmonize with men of purpose. Our unity is power. Through our faith, infinite intelligence expresses creation. Beware of alliances built upon greed or vanity. They crumble under stress because they lack spiritual cement. The true mastermind alliance is founded upon mutual service, loyalty, and belief in a purpose greater than profit. Carnegie's cabinet of leaders worked not for wages alone, but for a vision to build an industry that would uplift a nation. When each man's aim became larger than self, fortune flowed effortlessly. Wealth followed service. Harmony attracted abundance. Even in ordinary labor, the mastermind transforms drudgery into joy. A group of clerks united in faith can outperform a team of doubters twice their size. One inspired department can lift an entire business. The vibration of harmony spreads faster than any command of management. When you enter any gathering, business, home, or community, ask yourself, what vibration am I adding? If your thought is gratitude, enthusiasm, and faith, you are an asset. If your thought is complaint or criticism, you are a liability. The mastermind cannot operate through those who poison its current. Each man must bring his full measure of faith. The alliance is as strong as its weakest belief. Therefore, discipline your thought before joining forces with others. Purify your motives. Ask not what you can take, but what you can give. The man who serves most within the mastermind becomes its leader by natural law. Faith and harmony create mental electricity. Discord creates short circuit. The careless word, the selfish act, the hidden resentment, each breaks the current and drains the power. Guard your group's faith as you would guard a treasure chest, for it is the wellspring of fortune. Repeat often, I give my loyalty to harmony. I speak faith. I create cooperation. I attract men of vision. When you have formed your alliance, begin each meeting by reading your definite purpose aloud. Let every member affirm belief in it. Discuss not failure but advancement. Record ideas. Assign action. Every such gathering strengthens the vibration that infinite intelligence recognizes as readiness. In time, you will feel a new power in your midst, a clarity of mind beyond any individual. Problems once difficult will seem simple. Solutions will arise as if whispered from within. That is the third mind, the presence of infinite intelligence working through your harmony. Edison once said that his best inventions came not through solitary thinking, but through conversation with others who shared his passion. Their combined thought created sparks of genius. The same law awaits you. The mastermind does not end with business, it applies to every relationship. Marriage, friendship, community, all flourish under harmony of purpose. Discord in the home repels fortune as surely as harmony attracts it. The household united in gratitude becomes a magnet for opportunity. The law is impartial. It works wherever minds unite in faith and fails wherever they divide in fear. Therefore, live as one who contributes to harmony wherever he goes. Let your presence bring calm and confidence. Be the man through whom others find faith renewed. Infinite intelligence expresses through unity. It cannot work through conflict. That is why the man who forgives quickly, who praises freely, who believes steadfastly, always prospers. He remains in tune with the law of the mastermind. In solitude, man is limited by his own experience. In unity, he becomes infinite. Cooperation is the highest form of self-interest, for it multiplies your own power through the strength of others. You cannot purchase this power. It must be earned by sincerity, loyalty, and faith. You cannot counterfeit harmony. The universe detects false vibration instantly. When you live by this law, you will find that even those you have not met begin to assist you. Ideas travel faster than bodies. Your thought of purpose reaches other minds tuned to the same frequency, and they respond, often without knowing why. This is the secret commerce of creation. Say once more, I am surrounded by minds of power. I send faith, I receive faith, and together we multiply success. You may save 20 years of failure by building your mastermind today, for through it, you borrow wisdom, courage, and experience beyond your years. You step into the rhythm of infinite intelligence itself. The solitary dreamer may move slowly, climbing by effort. The harmonized dreamers soar, lifted by the law that multiplies all united purpose. Cooperation is the mother of miracles. Serve faithfully within your alliance, and you will find that every man who rises with you raises you higher still. For success is not a lonely mountain, it is a symphony. And when you play your note in harmony with others, infinite intelligence conducts the orchestra. There are no accidents in success, no luck in mastery, and no chaos in wealth. Everything that endures does so because it obeys law. The tree does not argue with the soil. It roots itself and grows by law. The river does not plead for flow. It follows gravity and carves valleys by obedience. Likewise, man rises or falls according to how closely he aligns himself with the eternal principles that govern thought and action. The man who drifts believes in chance. The man of power believes in order. Law is impartial. It rewards definiteness and punishes confusion. You may not see the punishment immediately, for law is patient, but it never fails. To violate it is to delay destiny. To align with it is to accelerate it. Say this with conviction. I live by law, and the law lives through me. These laws are the hidden architecture of all wealth. I have named 16 of them for the sake of understanding. But in truth, they are one law expressed in 16 harmonies, each connected to the other as the notes of a grand design. Together, they form the rhythm of success. Disobey one, and the melody falters. Obey them all, and your life becomes a symphony of certainty. The first law is definite chief aim, the law of direction. You cannot hit a target you do not see. Infinite intelligence does not serve the uncertain. It responds to definiteness as a soldier to command. Write your purpose clearly. Repeat it daily. Act upon it faithfully. Vagueness breeds drift. Definiteness builds empires. The second law is self-confidence, faith in your power to command law itself. The man who doubts his ability to act paralyzes his own instruments. Confidence is not arrogance. It is harmony with infinite intelligence. It is knowing that the same power that sustains stars flows through your thought. The third law is the habit of saving, the law of control over supply. Money is energy. It must be directed, not wasted. Every coin saved in faith multiplies. Every coin spent in fear disappears. The habit of saving builds self-respect, and self-respect attracts more to respect. The fourth law is initiative and leadership, the law of motion. The man who waits for permission is slave to another's will. Initiative is divine courage expressed. Begin before you are ready. Readiness grows in motion. Every act of leadership multiplies faith in self and in others. The fifth law is imagination, the workshop of creation. All riches first exist as mental pictures impressed upon the subconscious. The world you see is the shadow of thoughts once imagined by others. Guard imagination from pollution. Feed it with faith and vision. The man who directs his imagination commands infinite intelligence to form his desires in substance. The sixth law is enthusiasm, the fuel of faith. It is emotion directed toward creation. The man without enthusiasm is a body without spirit. Speak, act, and think with fire, and that fire will ignite the minds of others. Charles Schwab lifted entire industries through enthusiasm alone. His joy was contagious. The seventh law is self-control, the law of mastery over emotion. The man who cannot govern his moods cannot govern his fortune. Anger, jealousy, impatience, these are leaks in the vessel of power. Calmness is strength organized. Self-control is the silence in which infinite intelligence speaks. The eighth law is the habit of doing more than paid for, the law of increase. The man who gives more than he receives creates a vacuum that the universe must fill. Service beyond contract builds influence beyond imagination. Every act of extra effort plants invisible wealth awaiting harvest. The ninth law is pleasing personality, the law of attraction. Men follow not commands, but character. Kindness, sincerity, and faith in others magnetize cooperation. The world mirrors your attitude. Smile in faith, and the world smiles back. The 10th law is accurate thinking, the law of clarity. The majority live by opinions, the wise live by truth. Do not accept beliefs merely because they are common. Test them by law. Do they harmonize with faith, purpose, and service? Accurate thinking separates fact from fear and builds the foundation of sound decision. The 11th law is concentration, the law of focus power. Scatter energy, and you achieve nothing. Direct it, and you pierce through mountains. Concentration gathers the rays of faith into a single beam. Focus your thought upon one definite aim until it manifests, and the world will bend to your will. The 12th law is cooperation, the law of mutual advancement. All progress is collective. Even nature works in partnership. Air with fire, seed with soil, water with sun. The man who serves others harmonizes with infinite intelligence, for creation itself is cooperative. The 13th law is failure, the law of correction. Every defeat carries instruction for the next success. The man who curses failure rejects education. The man who studies it earns mastery. Edison thanked every mistake for showing him what to avoid. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is its foundation. The 14th law is tolerance, the law of open mind. Intolerance closes the gate to truth. The man who condemns what he does not understand condemns his own growth. Infinite intelligence works through all paths, all faiths, all forms. The tolerant mind receives more ideas than it can contain, for it vibrates in harmony with wisdom itself. The 15th law is the golden rule, the law of balance. Whatever you send out returns multiplied. You cannot cheat the law of exchange. Give hatred, and it returns as loneliness. Give kindness, and it returns as prosperity. Every act is seed, every result, harvest. And the 16th law is the mastermind, the law that multiplies all others. 2 minds in harmony produce more power than 100 in discord. This law, already known to you, is the channel through which infinite intelligence reveals ideas beyond individual reach. These 16 laws are not separate commandments. They are facets of one eternal order. The man who lives by them aligns himself with the rhythm that governs the universe. The man who defies them wages war against himself. Affirm now, I obey law, therefore law obeys me. I live in order, therefore wealth lives through me. Understand this, obedience saves time. The universe does not punish, it educates. Disobedience brings pain only to teach alignment. Each hardship endured without bitterness is a lesson hastening mastery. Every delay caused by neglect must eventually be corrected through discipline. The wise man learns from instruction. The fool learns from suffering. Carnegie said, "The man who cannot control himself cannot control business." Self-discipline was the cornerstone of his empire. He rose early, planned daily, and demanded harmony of thought and deed. He said, "The law never fails those who serve it." His fortune was not gift, but consequence. Infinite intelligence grants no exceptions. It has no favorites, no pity for ignorance, and no tolerance for laziness. Yet it is infinitely generous to obedience. The man who aligns his every act with law finds that wealth flows naturally. His progress appears effortless because he no longer resists the current. He rides it. Most men break law unconsciously. They worry while praying for faith. They speak lack while desiring abundance. They harbor resentment while asking for peace. The subconscious cannot reconcile contradiction. Law reads vibration, not words. You may pray beautifully, but think fearfully, and law will answer fear. Therefore, discipline your thought as a craftsman sharpens tools. Examine each idea that enters your mind. Ask, does this thought serve faith or fear? If it serves faith, feed it. If it serves fear, cast it out. The man who guards his mind as a fortress keeps intruders from his destiny. Law rewards such vigilance. Obedience to law is not servitude, it is freedom. The violinist who obeys the rules of music plays with mastery. The one who rebels produces noise. Likewise, when you align with the rhythm of success, life itself becomes harmony. Affirm nightly, I am one with law. My thoughts are order. My actions are obedience. My results are perfection. Each time you violate law through doubt, delay, or selfishness, you lengthen your path by years. Each time you obey, through faith, gratitude, and purpose, you shorten it by decades. Many men die before learning this truth. You need not. You may live it now and save half a lifetime of failure. Obedience is not punishment. It is partnership with infinite intelligence. To live by law is to live by grace. It is to walk in rhythm with the pulse of creation itself. The universe is not hostile. It is exact. It cannot err. Its justice is immediate though invisible. Every thought produces its equal result. The law is your greatest ally if you walk with it, and your most relentless teacher if you oppose it. Therefore, let your creed be, I will not resist law. I will study it, serve it, and trust it. The rewards are sure, peace of mind, clarity of purpose, and abundance of supply. For obedience is the shortest path to power. The man who governs himself according to these 16 harmonies becomes untouchable by chaos. His wealth cannot be stolen, his faith cannot be shaken, and his destiny cannot be denied. He moves calmly through storms while others tremble because he knows that law never fails. To obey law is to align with God's mind. To break law is to forget that such mind exists. Choose obedience, and you walk the straight road of success, the road that cuts 10, 20, even 30 years from your journey. For when you live by principle, you no longer experiment with error. You progress by design, not by accident, and in that design lies the difference between those who hope and those who know. There comes a moment in every man's life when he can no longer pretend ignorance, when the veil is torn and he sees that success or failure is not accident, but consequence. That moment is awakening. It is the instant when truth ceases to be a philosophy and becomes a mirror. The world is no longer to blame. The man stands face to face with his own reflection, and that reflection declares, "You have built this." The awakening begins with responsibility. The realization that everything a man possesses, every condition, every joy, every hardship, is the harvest of thought sown in faith or fear. The law cannot err. Therefore, neither can its result. To see this without resentment is the birth of wisdom. To resist it is to remain a slave. You have heard enough principles. You know the laws of faith, purpose, emotion, obedience, and cooperation. But knowledge alone is dust upon the shelves of the mind until it is lived. You may quote me, study me, and memorize these lessons, but until you embody them, you remain a student, not a master. Affirm now, I will not merely know the law, I will become the law in motion. This is the missing bridge between knowing and becoming. It is the point where words die and will is born. Infinite intelligence does not serve the man who studies, but the man who embodies. You must burn the distance between learning and living until faith becomes nature and obedience becomes instinct. The man who lives the law does not seek miracles. He becomes one. His peace is not borrowed from conditions. It is generated from within. His wealth is not luck. It is law organized. His confidence is not arrogance. It is the calm of mastery. Andrew Carnegie embodied this state. When asked for the secret of his calm, he said, I trust the law. I have proved it. His belief was not theory. It was muscle. He did not hope his men would succeed. He knew they would because he had trained them under law. He had reached the point where obedience had become reflex. The awakened man no longer wrestles with results. He plants the cause and leaves the harvest to time. He knows that infinite intelligence cannot fail him if he does not fail his own definiteness. He acts, he believes, and he persists. That is all. Faith, gratitude, and purpose are not practices for him. They are personality. They have moved from the surface to the soul. Say aloud, I no longer try the law, I trust it. I no longer test faith, I live it. This awakening changes your vibration entirely. You cease to chase and begin to attract. You cease to beg and begin to command. You cease to hope and begin to know. For when you live in harmony with principle, life itself becomes obedient to your direction. Henry Ford understood this secret. He said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you are right. He no longer hoped for proof of faith. He had seen the proof in motion too often. Every machine he built, every problem he solved reaffirmed the same truth. The law works when the man does. The final awakening is the death of superstition. It is the end of belief in luck, accident, or external control. The awakened man knows there is only law. He no longer prays for special favor. He prays for understanding to obey. Infinite intelligence is not partial. It plays no favorites. It serves the definite and punishes the drifting with equal precision. That is why the great man never envies nor fears another. He knows that all men receive exactly what they think, believe, and act upon. This realization removes bitterness. You stop comparing lives. You stop measuring fortunes. You stop resenting the successful and start studying them. You see that every rich man paid in discipline for what he owns. You see that every poor man has paid in neglect. The currency is the same, only the investment differs. The awakening also destroys dependence. You stop leaning upon men and start leaning upon principle. When you grasp that infinite intelligence dwells within, you stop begging and begin building. You stop searching for help and become the help others seek. Repeat this. All power is within me, because I am one with infinite intelligence. From this point onward, you must stop seeking permission to act. Do not wait for the world to approve what only God can ordain. If the law of success is in you, and it is, then no man may decree your limitation. You are not a victim of time, place, or birth. You are a creator bound only by your obedience to law. The man who grasps this truth gains a serenity no storm can shatter. He is calm while others panic, patient while others despair, certain while others doubt. His peace does not mean idleness, it means power under perfect control. He no longer wastes emotion on regret or worry. His eyes are fixed upon cause, not consequence. Faith has burned away fear. Gratitude has replaced complaint. Purpose has silenced distraction. This is mastery, the condition for which all study, prayer, and effort were preparation. Edison lived in such mastery. When fire consumed his laboratory, destroying a lifetime of labor, he did not curse. He said, "All my mistakes are burned. Tomorrow, we start again." That is awakening, the understanding that the same law that allowed loss will grant restoration if obeyed again. He lived by rhythm, not reaction. The awakened man no longer fears time. He sees that law bends it. Every moment of definiteness compresses a year of wandering. Every act of faith replaces hesitation with acceleration. That is how men rise in one decade while others struggle for a lifetime. Law does not measure duration. It measures vibration. Affirm daily. Each act of faith shortens time. Each thought of purpose multiplies power. You will find that once awakened, you no longer depend upon outer results for confidence. Success becomes inevitable because obedience guarantees it. You stop asking, "Well, will it happen?" and begin declaring, "It is happening." You speak not to convince, but to confirm. The final awakening also demands humility. You must understand that law serves through you, not for you. The power is not yours. It is expressed through your obedience. The moment you claim it as personal, pride closes the channel, gratitude keeps it open. Say softly, "I am servant of law, instrument of intelligence, builder of destiny." As you live this understanding, wealth will no longer be pursuit. It will be reflection. You will see that abundance was never something to earn. It was something to allow. Infinite intelligence cannot withhold riches. It can only obey the vibration of your thought. When you align perfectly, it must give. You will begin to notice that everything works more easily. People appear at the right moment. Opportunities unfold naturally. Plans take form without strain. You will call it grace, but grace is simply law in perfect motion. The man who reaches this point saves not just years, but lifetimes. He has transcended the wheel of repetition. He has learned the truth that all success begins within and radiates outward, never the reverse. The final awakening is realization of identity. You are not a beggar before the universe. You are a builder within it. You are a channel through which infinite intelligence seeks expression. It does not need your fear. It needs your faith. Carnegie once said, "My heart is at peace because I have found my purpose. I am an instrument through which law can work. That is the highest state of consciousness, to know that you are the living tool of divine mind." Every act of gratitude renews this awareness. Every day begun in faith strengthens it. Every moment spent in definite purpose deepens it. The law responds to rhythm, not intensity. Consistency builds permanence. At this level, you will find that speech itself gains power. Your words begin to shape matter swiftly. Your affirmations no longer feel like hope. They feel like commands. That is because your subconscious has merged with belief. There is no more conflict between desire and doubt. You have become one vibration. Speak thus each morning: I live in law. I think in faith. I act in service. Therefore, I am unstoppable. As you continue, you will notice that your influence expands. People feel peace in your presence. Strangers are drawn to your calm. You have become a transmitter of faith. This is leadership without demand, power without noise. Infinite intelligence works quietly. So does its true servant. The awakened man no longer needs to shout. His vibration speaks for him. The world senses his definiteness as surely as it senses the sun's warmth. Remember this: enlightenment is not escape from labor. It is mastery of it. You will still work, but your work will feel effortless. You will still plan, but your plans will flow. You will still desire, but your desires will no longer burn. They will radiate. Faith is now your nature, gratitude your breath, purpose your step. You are the proof the law was waiting for. You are the living chapter that cannot be erased. Repeat this final affirmation until it engraves itself upon your soul. I am the master of my mind, the ruler of my emotions, and the servant of law. Infinite intelligence works through me. What I think, I become. What I believe, I create. What I give returns multiplied. Each day I live in harmony, faith, and service. Therefore my wealth, my peace, and my power are eternal. And now, understand this final truth. The world does not change because you speak the law. It changes because you are the law. You no longer hope for proof. You are its demonstration. Live in this consciousness, and you will never again fear time, poverty, or fate. You will stand calm while others falter, sure while others waver, rich while others beg, for you have awakened. And once a man has awakened, he can never return to sleep. He does not wait for the world to serve him. He commands the world to follow the rhythm of his faith. He does not chase fortune, he builds it. He does not pray for power, he is power. This is the final awakening. The moment when the student becomes the master, when the man becomes the law, and when the law becomes life itself. And so I say to you with all conviction and love, go now and live it. Speak your faith, act your faith, be your faith. And you will have fulfilled the most sacred law of all. That man was made in the image of infinite intelligence, not to suffer, but to create.